It's a little further east. Yeah, you go there. Bus, oh yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, the website.
We go there. Probably a year. We go there. We enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Not a whole lot. I think
We do stuff like that, you know, that kind of stuff, you know. I think that's
it's just very informal. Unfortunately, we can do pretty much in color, but we can send it to whoever
that's why I always go.
So we have the speakers working for the Wi-Fi.
Yes, everybody please lean into your microphone when you speak.
It's 7 o'clock, call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Rents Pass here at 600 West Cleveland Boulevard, Rents Pass, Texas, on the May 5th at 7 p.m. Everybody come stand up for the invocation. Lord, I'd like to give thanks for the beautiful blessings you've given us throughout the week. Also, our condolences to the lives that have been lost throughout the week. Please grant us your wisdom, your guidance to make sure we do what's right for the whole community. Help the people out to have an understanding that it's a full team effort that's up here that we're trying to do for the best of the community. Please watch over our children, watch over our people that are servicing to help this community go and grow. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to bring up item number 3, the consent agenda. All of the following items of the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member so requests. The discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. We have items A, B, and C.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This will bring us to item number 4. We have proclamations for A, to be the National Safe Voting Week. And I'm going to go ahead and read the first one. It says, whereas on average of 700 people die each year in voting-related accidents in the U.S., nearly 70% of these fatalities are caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment, and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. Whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today if they had worn the proper life jackets. And whereas modern life jackets are more comfortable, more attractive, and more wearable than styles of years past and deserve a fresh look by today's boating public. Therefore, I, Don Chop of Mayor Francis Pass, do hereby support the goals of the North American Safe Boating Campaign, proclaim May 17th through the 23rd, 2014, a National Safe Boating Week, and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating. It witness, therefore, I urge all of those who boat to boat smart, boat safe, and wear it, and practice safe boating habits, and hereunto set my hand cause the seal of the City of Francis Pass, Texas, to be affixed on this date of the 5th of May of 2014. Do we have anybody here present?
Yes, we do.
With this presentation?
One more, please. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
This will bring us to item number, part B of item 4, be National Fair Housing Month. This proclamation of April as Fair Housing Month, whereas Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, prohibits discrimination in the housing and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits for the fair housing in the United States. Whereas the principle of fair housing is not only national law, national policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans. Let's see, whereas the National Fair Housing Law during the month of April provides an opportunity for all Americans to recognize that complete success in the goal of equal housing opportunity can only be accomplished with the help and cooperation of all Americans. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Francis Pass, do proclaim April as a Fair Housing Month in the City of Francis Pass, and do hereby urge all of the citizens of this locality to become aware and of support of the Fair Housing Law, passed and adopted by the City Council of the City of Francis Pass, San Patricio, Francis, Nueces County, State of Texas, on May 5th, 2014. Is there anybody present to accept this? No? Okay. And this will bring us to item C, which is the Relay for Life proclamation. It says, whereas cancer is a group of diseases characterized by uncontrolled growth and spread by abnormal cells which is not controlled and can result in premature death. Whereas in the U.S., men have slightly less than a 1 in 12 lifetime development of cancer. For women, the risk is a little bit more than a 1 in 3. And with an estimated 110,470 new cases of cancer diagnosed in Texas in 2012, whereas approximately 260 new cases of cancers are estimated to occur in San Patricio County in 2012, and 148 in San Patricio County. Citizens are expected to lose their battle with cancer this year. And whereas the American Cancer Society, founded in 1913, works with more than 3 million volunteers to fund research which has contributed to every known method of detecting cancer and techniques for treating cancer, thereby increasing the cancer survival rates from 10% to over 67%. And, excuse me, whereas the color purple is the signature color of the American Cancer Society Relay for Life event, signifying the passion that cancer survivors and their families or loved ones feel for the eradication of this disease. And whereas the Relay for Life eventually financially benefits American Cancer Society research and patient support programs, and educationally benefits our local businesses, the money raised in our area stays in our area, serving more than 1,500 patients and their families with 8,521 services last year. And whereas the American Cancer Society Relay for Life of Aransas Ingleside is a community-wide event for the cities of Aransas, Ingleside, and Ingleside on the Bay that allows an opportunity for all ages to network with businesses, associates, families, and friends with the same goal of making a difference in the battle against cancer. Whereas hanging a purple bow on a door in a tree or a sign shows honor for cancer survivors, anticipation of the Relay for Life, and all hope for a cure of all cancers. So now, therefore, I, Adon Chapo, Mayor of the City of Aransas, do hereby proclaim May 16, 2014 as Relay for Life Day throughout the City of Aransas. I further urge all citizens to join me in recognizing and participating in the anti-cancer campaign held in the City of Aransas. A witness of I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be affixed on this day, the 5th of May of 2014. Is there anybody here present to accept this? And also to add, this is Relay for Life also goes with conjunction with Ingleside, so it's a group effort throughout both communities. Thank you.
And I want to urge everyone to come out May the 16th and at the Ingleside football stadium for Relay for Life.
This will bring us to item number 5 of our agenda, the presentation of the Coastal Resilience Index by Ms. Heather Wade.
Good afternoon, or evening, I guess I should say. So I'm actually here with my colleague today, so first I'll just introduce myself, but then I'd also like to introduce her because she has been a big help in this project as well. My name is Heather Wade, and I am the Coastal Planning Specialist with Texas Sea Grant. That is a program out of Texas A&M University. And my colleague, she can wave, that is Kristen Hicks. She is the Coastal Training Program Coordinator for the Mission Aransas National Estuarine Research Reserve, and that is a program under the University of Texas at Austin. And you can tell, she likes to say this, so I'll say it too, you can tell that, you know, what we are covering together is a really big deal when you see UT and A&M getting together to do work together. So, but anyway, so we decided to partner on tackling community resilience because we were both doing this similar work, and we thought it was better to leverage each other's resources rather than kind of compete against each other. And so we formed a partnership to look at community and coastal resilience and how communities can better prepare for coastal hazards. And so we were really excited when the City of Aransas Pass started to participate a lot more in some of our programs in the last year or so, and so we continued to kind of press you guys, and luckily we finally, I think, established some pretty good relationships. And so on March 11th, we actually held what we're calling a Resilience Index meeting here in this room, and I believe I've seen several familiar faces. Can you raise your hand if you were at that meeting? That is great. Yeah, so we had really great participation. I think I have here a total of 22 people from the city actually participated in this meeting. And the point of the meeting and the point of the Resilience Index is for the city to come together and do a self-assessment of how resilient that community is to a coastal hazard. And we use coastal storms and hurricanes as our specific hazard. And so we bring everyone together and we do an assessment on 6 categories. The categories are critical facilities and infrastructure, transportation, community plans and agreements, mitigation measures, business plans, and social systems. And so we go through this exercise, and at the end of the exercise we have a basically a list of scores for each section, and those can be low resilience, medium resilience, or high resilience. Before we actually get to doing the actual assessment, we actually do a scenario exercise. So we identify a benchmark storm. So this is a storm that has taken place in the community in the past, and one that people are usually most familiar with. And so most of you are probably familiar with Hurricane Celia as being the benchmark storm for Aransas Pass. It's the last major storm that hit this area, and so we chose that as our benchmark storm. Then we choose a future storm, and so with this storm we basically try to think of what would be a really bad storm to happen to Aransas Pass, and so we decided to name that storm Hurricane Sylvia. And I'm not going to go through all of the measures for Hurricane Sylvia, but you can look on our second page of our report. It compares Hurricane Celia and Hurricane Sylvia, and you can see that Sylvia is obviously going to be a much worse storm than Hurricane Celia. And so you can look at all the different things, wind speed, rainfall, storm surge, all the way down to where does that storm actually locate. And so we decided that the worst location for Aransas Pass would be for it to hit right at Con Brown Harbor. So after we do the scenario exercise, we go through the assessment. We go through each section, and it's mostly a series of yes or no questions. And what we do is, as a group, what we deemed the resilience team, we go through each question and we answer each question as a group. And so it can be a little tricky because you all have to agree on the answers. And so, but I think our group was really good at working together, and we all pretty much, I think, came to agreement. And when I say we, I really mean they. I just helped facilitate it. So after the assessment, we then calculate all the scores, and we kind of go over that and then talk a little bit about next steps. And so on the third page of the report, you can see the results of the assessment. And so for critical facilities and infrastructure, the city received a low score. Transportation issues, community plans and agreements, and mitigation measures all received a medium score. And then business plans and social systems received low scores. And just for everyone's reference, even though I know you can read it, just to give you an idea of what those scores can actually mean for a community, a low score indicates that a community should pay very specific attention to that item because it can, I guess, this indicates that it will take even longer for a community to bounce back from a storm. One specific example that the index gives is it says that reoccupation of the community may take more than 18 months before basic services are restored. And this is an example of if you get a low score in critical facilities and infrastructure. But that's just an example. Medium is basically that more work can be done to improve the resilience in this category. If the critical infrastructure category has a score of medium, then typically reoccupation of the community may take less than 2 months before basic services are restored. And then high resilience, which is pretty obvious, community is well prepared for a storm event with respect to this category. And so I don't want to be that person that comes into your city and says, you are not resilient. And I know that's kind of what it sounds like, but that's not really the case. We actually do this assessment all over the Texas coast, and what we have found is that, for example, facilities and infrastructure, I don't think I've ever seen a community that didn't get a low score in that section. So don't be alarmed by that, and it's probably something that you were probably already kind of aware of. So with that being said, the point of this assessment is to not only to see where your strengths are, but also to identify those weaknesses and to give you an idea of how you might improve the city in terms of resilience and how might you better prepare yourself for a hurricane, coastal storm, or other coastal hazard. And so the idea after the index is to come up with a plan to address those weaknesses, and you can tell that based on the different sections of the assessment that there are definitely some that are very significant changes would have to be made, but then there are also some that are pretty low-hanging fruit that you can address that could bump up your resilience a lot easier than, say, capital improvements for your facilities and infrastructure. But just to give you some ideas, on the back page we have some basically just like a quick list of ideas. Some of these I think were brought up here in our meeting with the resilience team, but I won't read all of them, but just a few of them. So one idea of being able to increase your resilience would be to actually just develop a simple plan for off-site critical record storage. Another is development of MOUs or MOAs with other communities in terms of hazards management or emergency management. Just developing a strategic plan for disaster preparedness. Developing shoreline restoration plans for critically eroding areas. And then a couple of the ones that I thought that were really important that came out of our meeting was working with the local businesses on their preparedness and actually getting the local businesses heavily engaged in the resilience and disaster preparedness conversation. And then also working with the social systems that are in place, so the local organizations, the local church groups. These are all to the team seem to be very important aspects that we could really focus on to increase resilience. And so with all of that being said, the whole point was that, you know, we try to help communities become better prepared for coastal hazards. We try to help them, give them the resources that they don't have if they're lacking capacity in certain areas. And so the idea is that we're interested in working with the City of Aransas Pass to help in their planning efforts, to provide training opportunities to help increase their resilience to coastal hazards. And then ideally, after helping the community, we could then come back and do a reassessment to show how the city actually improves over time. And we think that that's definitely a possibility, and we actually worked with the city to submit a grant to actually create a plan on how to address the weaknesses that were identified in this specific assessment. And so with that, I think I've covered everything. If not, Kristen can say something if she thinks of anything. But other than that, I would open it up for questions. Do you have any comments?
I just wanted to say that we've done this with about, what are we at, 8 communities now, and the Resilience Index meeting that we had here in Aransas Pass was the most engaged and most productive meeting that we've had, so we're really excited to work with the city because you guys are really, really engaged and fun to talk to, so we're really excited about it, and we just wanted to say that a large part of what we do is we are resources for you, so outside of just resilience, we do a lot of different things, so if there's anything that you need capacity building, please don't hesitate to call us. And our contact information is on the back of those reports, but we're here for you guys. So thanks.
And we do have more of these in the back, so if you didn't get one and you're interested, they are in the back. So, and then if you have any other questions or you want more details about the meeting or any questions about this or what we do, we're happy to talk to you. So just give us a call or email us, and we're happy to talk to you about it. Yes. Yes, so that's another thing. So, and I will say, and I'm coming up to the microphone so this is on record, a lot of times communities get kind of overwhelmed by the idea of someone coming in and assessing how resilient they are to, say, a disaster. And so we want the city to understand that, this is not going to go up on the Texas Sea Grant website, or it's not going to go up on the Mission Aransas Reserve website. If the city of Aransas Pass wants to put this up on their website, that is your prerogative to do so. We do not display these scores to other communities. We do not compare scores across communities. This is yours to do with what you want to do with it. And so with that, we would just encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, because you guys are already heading in the right direction, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, just so you understand, this, guess I am on. These two young ladies provide a variety of planning services, and we are already doing 5 of the 10 things that they brought forward. But I don't think it's bad to put this on the website, because quite honestly, our community needs to know the things that we need to work on, and they are absolutely critical. And we've got a long way to go. I'm not going to lie, we have a long way to go. But I think in the next 12 to 18 months, I know hurricane season is upon us, and I know I don't want the community to be afraid and think we're not prepared, because we do have plans in place. Are they the best plans that they can be for the city? Probably not, because we've got to do some serious partnering with our area communities. But even reaching out to HEB and having food prepared, even so much as reviewing our maps and making sure we're not exiting in areas that are flood prone, because that's one of our issues now. We're supposed to gather at Lowe's. Well, Lowe's is a flood point, so that's not a good place to gather. All of those things in conjunction, I think these two ladies just helped us pull it all together. We kind of all knew where the holes were, and that's why staff was so engaged. They've been raising their hand for a while. And now somebody finally listened. So that's the plan that we're putting together. Bill's had a component of the plan. We're going to wrap up some things. But that's only step 1. We've still got a ways to go. And with their help and grants and things like that, we'll finally tie it up to a point where during hurricane season we can all sleep just a little bit better.
Well, we appreciate your help, because I always know when you bring somebody in with a fresh pair of eyes, you see some things that as a city we may become complacent with or taking for granted, especially after all these years. We've been pretty fortunate not to have a big hit. But it's always best to be over-prepared than under.
Yeah, I think over 40 years, right? All right.
Thank you very much.
My sister's name is Celia, by the way. I'm dead serious. Now we'll have a Sylvia, huh? And with that being said, the next agenda item ties directly into all of this.
This will bring us to item number 6. Consider an act on approving a memorandum of understanding between the City of Aransas Pass and Bay LTD for Bay LTD to install our sea gates and rail gates for the dollar amount of $2,800.
Mayor and Council, this is just a renewal of an MOU that we had. We had a prior MOU that was probably 8 times more expensive than this one. While Bay isn't a local company, and we've been searching for a local company, we've not been able to find one that can do it at this rate. Bay's come out, done a test run, staff's tested. We're confident they can remove and install the gates as necessary during time of hurricane.
this is the concrete
Yes,
On-
at the railroad at Pelican Cove.
and the
Mhm.
one at Staff, I guess?
Yes.
At what time hour are they looking at? 10 hours to landfall, or 20, or 30?
Bill?
We'll notify them, put them on standby at 72.
72.
We need to make, 96, we need to probably start preparing code at 72. We'll probably do that about the time the textile starts working on the
Evacuation routes.
the gate across 361. But we need to make sure they're in by 48.
And what happens to the residents on Bay Harbor? Just they be notified, right?
Yeah, what we'll do is the police and fire will go through there. We'll make sure, knock on the doors, put out the emergency call, make sure everybody that's in there is notified. And we'll give them however many hours we can to leave before TxDOT puts up the barricade.
Okay.
And like last time, I think there was someone that, I'm not sure where they came from, because we controlled the entire 361 area and notified everybody. And once TxDOT closed the highway out, there were 2 cars stopped on the other side, and they had to flip it over to see if all they come. We can do the best we can.
Right.
Sure. Well, I make a motion that we approve the MOU between the City of Aransas Pass and Bay LTD for the install the sea gates and rail gates for the amount of $2,800.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This brings us to item number 7, consider and act on memorandums of understanding between the Aransas Pass Police Department and Connections Individuals with Family Services for A, services to at-risk youth STAR program, and B, Universal Substance Abuse Prevention Program. Eric?
Yeah, these two are, what used to be one component, Clean Connections out of Portland. They've now just split it up into 2 components. We utilize Connections for their services as far as dealing with our juvenile situations. For example, we had a situation once before where a child was left to his aunt and uncle to take care of. They didn't want anything to do with him no more. He had no other family, nowhere else basically to go. We were able to place that juvenile in Connections. They provide him with a bed, food, education, and resources until we can find somewhere else to place him. That's what Connections is for. They're out of Portland, Texas. They also provide substance abuse training and education to kids and provide whatever needs that are outside of the scope of, for example, child protective services and stuff like that. They're an ancillary agency that helps us. And basically they want us to sign MOUs knowing so that we understand the services they supply and they're available for us if we need them.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve MOUs between the Aransas Pass Police Department and Connections and Portland, Texas for YPU and STAR programs.
Second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? This brings us to item number 8, City of Aransas Pass Hotel Occupancy Tax Funds Reconciliation by the Finance Director, Ms. Donna Cox.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here to talk to you tonight about our hotel motel occupancy tax fund. When I prepared this on Friday, I was really optimistic that we were right on target with our budget and that things were going really good. The hawthorn burned on Friday. So that's going to kind of throw a monkey wrench in things. The way our hotel motel occupancy tax works, we get paid in 4 quarterly payments. The first quarter is usually really big, kind of coming in from the Christmas holidays, and then we take a dip for the next 2, and then we go back up, recovering from the summer. We've gotten 3 of our 4 payments in. Our last one is usually typically $70,000 or so. In order to make our budget for the year, we needed $68,000 to be right on track, so it was looking really good. With the Hawthorne out of commission for a while, that's going to be a little dicey. Our expenses are on target. As you know, we give the Chamber of Commerce 70%, so that's always a set amount. They'll get a decrease if we get a decrease. In terms of our advertising and promotions, we've spent $15,000 of our $25,000 budget so far. We've committed another $7,275 to the billboard advertising campaign that we partner with the Chamber on. And that leaves us about $2,000, $2,300. We have a deal with Cooper Billboard that there will be a little expense there in terms of doing the wraps and putting things up and down, and that'll probably take most of that. Our special event expenses, so far we've spent $20,000 on the Rock the Dock. It's a $40,000 line item budget. That leaves us $20,000. We committed $7,500 to the car show for the Wounded Warrior weekend, which leaves us $12,500. Normally out of this category, we handle our shrimpery expense. It's typically a little over $7,000 for Public Works, and then another $20,000 back to the Chamber for reimbursement for security expenses. So that's typically $27,000. We have $12,500 left. So Public Works and the Police Department are going to have to cover a lot of their own expenses. We're not going to have that out of our hotel motel funds this year. It's going to be a little tight, so that's kind of where we are. Any questions?
So after hearing that, that'll jump us to item number 9.
Mayor and Council, and that's a request for $4,500 for Rudy's Redfish series. Really, the total request is $9,000. It's two different events for $4,500 apiece. Obviously, we don't have the funds in the HOT account to sponsor that event. Council can direct us to take it from another line item. Obviously, that would impact some department operating budget.
We don't have it.
We didn't expect the fire at the Hawthorne.
Well, that's your first I heard
And let's go back to what we keep saying, that we need to go out and get more hotels to our area, so we just heavily depend on just one or two, and that's.
We're finalizing a participation agreement with the La Quinta that's scheduled to go in behind the Lowe's. But that's just one additional.
But that is hopeful. It's an opportunity, hopefully, for more to come in.
Absolutely. I'd like to market the area that is next to the Super 8. That's really the city's stormwater area. That's one of the entrances into the city. That's probably a very prime location for a hotel.
So due to the fact of the funds, item number 9 was not even.
Yeah, I'll just make a motion, we deny the hot fund request for the Ruby's Redfish tournament.
I second that.
All first, say aye.
Aye.
I have a question. I know that we have a line, more events, fishing tournaments. Do those typically come and ask funds from this particular
Yes.
fund? Okay, so
Yes.
not only this particular event, but all the ways down the.
I would expect there are no more hot funnies this fiscal year. Given where we are today, the typical reimbursement to PD is $20,000 and Public Works. Because we only have $12,500 left, Public Works will absorb $7,500 of their labor, and PD will absorb $7,500 of their labor. So the city's already taken a $15,000 hit. Again, if council chooses to give further monies, it would come out of one of the other department budgets because the hot fund cannot sustain it. Not the remainder of this year unless something astronomical picks up. But this is typically at capacity for the hotel rooms that we have. So this is pretty much a standard. So we're going to expect a dip in revenues.
Can we ask the chamber to contribute part of those fund, reimburse the city for some of these expenses since it's going to be for the chamber?
Well, they're going to take a hit too from that.
Well, I think everybody, the 70% that we give them a little,
Well,
kind
that
of
is gonna be
split it
less.
halfway.
Isn't that another item to be talking about?
Well, that
I'm
should-
just saying,
that's
just
not
a
on the-
suggestion.
It's not listed on our agenda, but it's not think about for the next meeting. It's an agenda item.
I guess we need to take a poll on that item 9.
Oh, I think we all
Very-
we voted
Did
for
we?
it. Everybody voted for it.
Not to approve it.
Not to approve it.
Do
Because of-
because of the fund. Let's bring us to item number 10. Consider an act on authorizing staff to advertise for bid requests for disposal of Old City Rents Pass water meters.
They're just sitting around. We've got to get rid of them. That'll go toward the $15,000. It's a potential revenue source. They're old meters that we're replacing with the radio meters, so we need to just surplus them out and get whatever revenue we can out of them.
Have we replaced all of them, or we still have some?
No, we're still in progress. It's a work in progress.
Are we going to use that money to buy more radio meters?
I don't think we have a line item planned for the money. That would be the natural assumption. But
If I could say, it's not a lot of money. We probably have about 300 or 400 meters sitting around right now. It's a couple of $1,000s. It's enough that we have to come to you to get your approval to get rid of them, but it's not so much that it's gonna buy $2,000 to buy 20 more meters. That's good, but it's not a ton of money. in
It's
terms
looking
of
at it.
buying meters. But it's
Right.
not to be thrown away, that's
Right. Thank you, Don. So do I hear a motion for approval of item number 10?
I make a motion that we authorize staff to advertise for bid requests for the disposal of the old City of Rams Pass water meters.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll bring us to item number 11. Consider an act on accepting $20,000 donation towards the purchase of the new Dodge Ram 4x4 for Manly Samuels Rents Pass and approving expenditures of $12,826.70 towards the same.
Mayor and Council, this is it's a donation from Alan Samuels to the fire department. The $12,000 is available in the fire department's operating budget. So we wouldn't go over, and fire is well under their budget expenses at this point.
Well, I make a motion that we accept the donation of $28,000 toward the purchase of a new Dodge Ram 4x4 from Alan Samuels, and the expenditure of $12,826.70 towards the same.
Second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Denton, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now bring us to item number 12. Ms. Carrillo?
Well, it only says Saunders Street, but there's a couple of things we need to touch base on. First of all, Saunders Street is one of the areas that Mr. Estes came before council, and council approved a dollar amount in the last budget to make some necessary repairs. Do you want to?
Floor is yours.
We Paul's not here, but we are working with a third-party contractor. This may be one of the areas we use our zipper to drive down that cost to make some of those necessary repairs. I do have a developer in that area who's proposing a 70-unit subdivision who wants street repair as well, so there may be a participation there that would assist them in getting their subdivision up and going. We have been working on the development agreement that I told council with all of the property owners. It's a little bit more complicated because every property owner is different. Some property owners, Mr. Spears, for example, the expense is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so our dilemma is how do we break that expense so that it is a reasonable expense, and me present that information to the council so that you understand how much development is actually going to be opened by expending that dollar amount. And I can bring it up in Google Earth right here, actually. This is the area in question. This is the same sort of footprint of the area that, if we extended development, could potentially open up. However, if we leave the current platting in place and not require them, and not us plan for highest and most use, then the most we end up with is 6 potential lots that need to absorb $220,000+. So it doesn't make any financial sense. So a subdivision like this that fits into that same footprint, absorbing $220,000, is a much more feasible alternative. So we're working through some of that. Mr. Spears will be in front of Planning Commission on Monday, and we'll be presenting some information to him at that point as well. The other thing that will be at Planning Commission on Monday is we're going to be talking about the proposed uses. First of all, agreeing to the final uses on the general business table. Planning Commission's been bouncing that around for a while. They've removed some of the uses, heavy industrial uses along the general business category, which affects Wheeler and commercial and all of our main entrances. With that, they're actually also going to be considering uses within the harbor and within the downtown area. And we're really going to start with uses we don't want to see there, and uses we really want to see there. And it's going to be the first meeting to have that discussion. So I expect that item with Planning Commission's recommendation to City Council in the first meeting of June. The last one is we did have the fire at the Hawthorne. You heard that over and over today. And I wanted Ricky to touch base on, because there's some misinformation that's out there on Facebook and a lot of the social media sites about what staff was available and who was able to go in. So Ricky, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What it was, I had 2 people on duty at the time. I had a volunteer that showed up. Those 2 people went inside to make sure everybody got out of the building. That's our first priority, is their life safety. At the time, all it was just smoke. We didn't see no flames or anything at the time. There was one of the workers that come out had overcome by smoke, which EMS was called, and he refused to go to the hospital. We did call Ingleside and Rockport in. I was over in Rockport at the time. One of our senior fire volunteers showed up. He took command until I got there. Then we had the 2 in and 2 out policy in place at that time. Ingleside showed up. We had crews on all 3 floors making sure the evacuation and everybody was out of the building. The fire was at the very back of the building by the AC. It wasn't the AC. That's what we found out today. It was something else that the State Fire Marshal is working on right now to find out what caused it. He was over here today. But the conspiracy is the 2 in, 2 out policy. The life safety comes first. That's our priority, and that's what we're here for. That's what we do it for. We don't do it for money or to get rich. That's not what we're here for. We're here to protect the citizens we live in. So, anybody got any questions on that?
Well, I wanted to provide an update on the volunteer organization as well.
Okay, we do have 3 volunteers that just come back. We have 1 new one that just filled out an application. He has no fire experience whatsoever. Our training is going to be on Saturdays from now on, because a lot of people works during the week, and I know when they get off work they don't want to show up on training, even though they have. But I figure on the weekend it's a lot better, because most of them are off on the weekends. So we're going to start doing our training on Saturdays. And the last Saturday of the month is when we're going to get all the volunteers and the paid staff to come in and train as one. That way everybody's trained, everybody's on the same page as everybody else is. And that's what we're going to start doing. And I would ask for people to come back for them. Nobody's come back to getting applications. We tell them everybody's welcome to come back. But only 3 of them is come back with the application.
It is the same application, the paid staff. It is the same
It is.
application. We did not make the application any more difficult for volunteer.
But we're not paying the volunteers the same as we're paying the.
No, that's one of the items, actually Ricky's been tasked with. We've been reviewing the areas because the $25,000 that's allocated to the volunteers can possibly be used to pay like Ingleside $8
Sure.
or whatever per incident, per event.
We just don't need to make this a difficult process to retain volunteer firefighters. I mean, we need as many of them as we possibly can.
I don't understand what the difficulty is. They've all been invited back. The application is the same. We've moved the training day to a day that more people can attend. I don't understand what the difficulty is, other than working with me, but
Other than working with you, they're not working with you.
I know they post that on Facebook quite a bit, but that's the reason they state they're not coming back, which it doesn't hurt my feelings, it's hurting the community.
Sure. I just want to see possibly maybe an easier application. You know, this is, you know, everybody's probably seen the ad on television. 77% of Texas is volunteer firefighters. You know, we just, you know, we're trying to bolster their ranks and improve our community, and we definitely need as much help as we can at a reduced rate.
What would you have the application be reduced to?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen the 22-page application yet.
It is the exact same application staff. It asks for background information, police history, and employment history.
Okay, I'd like to see the application then.
I'll get you one.
Also, Ricky, if you don't mind, anytime you have any kind of fires like that, just give me a call, just to give me in the loop of things.
Yes, sir.
I didn't hear anything about the house, so just give me. Appreciate the effort that was put out to take care of that issue, and also the gentleman that helped y'all by taking over till you got there.
I sure will.
That's it. Need to do something for him, accommodation or something.
Right now, he's one that works for the Navy, so he's on shift tonight. I called him to see if he's going to be here, but I found out he's working at 48 over in Goliad right now. So
That's very much appreciated. I mean, like I said, things happen. People take the initiative and just do, not think.
right.
Especially to save lives. We do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
That takes us to department updates. We will start with police department.
Just cap real quick, Mayor, on notification, since my dispatch handles it, that would have been my failure. I wasn't notified until Sunday in reading the paper as well. So that's something that I've already addressed with staff. But I will keep you guys aware as well. Okay, off to my notes here. This last month we handled, dispatch handled 1,920 calls for service. Traffic events, we had 530 traffic events. Citations that were issued, 189 citations issued for a total of 238 violations. We investigated 14 crash reports. We had 68 arrests, which that number's up on our monthly. Juvenile detentions, which is the equivalent of an arrest, we had 5. Code enforcement, we had 57 events addressed by code enforcement. Some of the highlights were the drug posting. We had a pretty nice bust with crystal meth, which is pretty popular, so you know, that was a decent arrest there. We had a total, well, we had several arrests for drug cases, but we post those all online on a regular basis. We did our trash take-back event number 2, which turned out very well. We had 6 trailer loads of trash that were collected. Again, this was from the Stedman Island area and off of Beasley. We were not finished after the first time. And we have some more events coming up in the future. In fact, Texas Open Carry has already hit us up. They want to do another event. More people want to come out and help. The more the merrier, and more trash we can clean up, the better for the community. Law enforcement training. We had a 3-day event at the Civic Center, which was a highlight for this year. We had about 104 law enforcement officers from all over the state that came to Aransas Pass to listen to Sergeant Brian Harris from Houston Police Department, who is kind of the lead authority on homicide investigations. across the state and in some parts of the nation as well. We hit a highlight with Facebook. We hit our 3,000 likes finally on our Facebook page. We did have an ad running for a couple of items, job hiring, 4 likes, and also for the town hall meeting. And I will tell you, on one of the ads that we ran right after I came into the police department to get people connected to us online, we had very low or non-favorable response like we've had now. We were receiving about 30 to 40 likes a day. This is a benefit for us because a lot of our communications tag to Facebook. So the more people we can connect with on Facebook, the more likelihood we are to get our message out expeditiously in a time of need.
To add to that, I have people all over Texas, kids, residents that live there, that actually email me. They let me know because of Facebook and what you're doing on the web, they like to keep informed of what's going on around. So
yeah, a lot of people like to touch back. And like I said before, we've even been referenced as far away as Chicago on the news over there, so in the way we're doing things here. Another highlight we had was an assault at Walmart. I did give you all a heads up on that. One news entity actually picked up on it because we didn't want to sensationalize it with the news like last time, but the subject in this case was the one that I revealed to you, not to the public, but he had followed the female and reached up her skirt to touch her. He actually turned himself in the next day.
Really?
After our publication went out, without the media sensationalizing it. But that was a good deal. We weren't able to connect him with anything else going on, but he sure did fit the profile. So we're glad that worked out the way it did. Click It or Ticket's coming up soon, and an impaired driving campaign, which is drunk driving. Click It or Ticket will be this month, and the impaired driving will be in August. We are participating in both events again this year, and that opens us up to the opportunity of winning a $3,000 grant on both. You might have seen today we put out some publications on Click It or Ticket, and we have some more automated publications coming, as well as a video campaign, which Billy was able to get in with the sheriff. It's going to be the first ever for representing Sampat County, so we're very excited about it being involved this time and it being videotaped right here in Aransas Pass. I have nothing else unless you have any questions about any of the attached reports.
Good job.
I had a lady actually tell me her husband was one of the ones arrested for the drugs. And the only complaint she had is that we didn't keep him in jail long enough.
I actually, myself, when I was working a night shift, I stopped the guy at Tractor Supply dumpster diving, and he was pretty thrilled. He thought it was pretty cool that his face made it on Facebook for being arrested for dope in our community.
Yeah, keep up the good work, though.
Next is municipal court.
Good evening. How are y'all doing today? Just give you a little mini update on some of the things that we've been doing since I came in. I just kind of printed this from October through April the 30th and show that there's been an increase every month, pretty much. But on magistrate warning given, that's when whoever gets arrested goes in front of the judge and has their bond set and what have you, advise of their rights, see if they want an attorney, what have you. And the police department has been great as far as providing us customers. So every month it goes up and up and up. And as he said, they had 68 arrests, and of course we see all those, and it's kind of broken down between whether they're Class C misdemeanor, Class A, B, or felonies. We've issued almost 1,000 warrants since October, which is leading into my budget portion of this. Kind of broke it down there by month, how many were issued by month and what kind they were. So, we had discussed budget in an executive session once before and kind of had some surprises. And there was a $430,000 budget set kind of a projected target of what was going to come in. And that was based on having a full-time warrant officer that was going to be me, and was going to be bringing in all this money, and that didn't happen. We didn't get that officer. We haven't been able to fill it, and since we have decided to hold off on filling that position until a later date to try to recoup some deals. So we're a little low on our income. Year to date, it's $197,492, which is only 45% of our projected income. We're 7 months on our 7th month in, so it's not looking too well. We are going to be a little low. We will cover all our expenses and then some, but again, it's not going to be near the $430,000 that was budgeted. And you see our salaries are, right on track where they need to be. The only thing that we've spent more than normal on is training, because I have been getting quite a bit, and but we're still okay there, and we're still at only 45% of our total budget 7 months in, so we're going to come in pretty good there. There's a separate line item or section for warrant officer, and as it shows on here, my salary was actually incorrectly being taken out of this as I was serving as judge. So we got together last week and with finance, and Donna made the adjustments and moved it all back to where it goes. So that's why it's showing some credits and debits and what have you, but it's all back where it belongs, and shows that there is still 90.94% or 99.84%, I guess, of that budget left that will be going back to the general fund if we do not hire this person. So that'll be $57,194 returning to the general fund. And of course, the facilities just are typical insurance, utilities, what have you, that gets kind of broken down between all the departments. Any questions?
No. Thank you very much.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Next, the senior center, Peggy.
Hello. I'm Peggy Brown, and I am the director of the Senior Citizen Center here. We have bingo for the seniors, and we play cards. We have an arts class. We do blood pressure screenings. We have the van that takes people to the grocery store, to the doctor, to pay bills, and we do some of the running for them. They stay home, and we do it. Last month, we had 89 persons that came to bingo, and our card players have gone down. We have no more Winter Texans, so we're looking for card players, anybody 60 and over. And we have a craft class on Tuesday mornings. But the most favorite is the bingo. We have a library that is just donated books that have been given to us. You don't have to check them out. People just come in and get their books and take them and come back with them when they get done. We answer a lot of questions. We have a lot of drop-ins. We even get calls for the swimming pool and telephone numbers for the library, that kind of stuff. Pam Kurtz is the van driver, and she goes to Corpus on Tuesdays, or out of town on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The rest of the time she does running here in town. I guess that's it. Do you have any questions?
Does any of our elderly use the swimming facility?
The what?
The swimming pool?
Not any that come to the Senior Citizen Center. I know some people that do use the Aquatic Center, but it's not anybody that comes to the center.
Okay.
They have the Max Swain building next door,
Right.
and that's seniors also, and they serve the lunches there. And I'm over that building as far as renting it out, and we have started renting it again a little bit. Anything else? Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Next is our finance update.
I'm back. It's hard to follow all those fun and interesting things. Police department with all their arrests and things like that. And I was really excited because I was going to get to kind of beat up Judge Howe about his income a little bit, but He took the wind out of my sails telling you. So, I know. We're actually doing very well so far this year. On our general fund revenue summary, everything is really very much in line except for license permits in municipal court. We've collected 95% of our property taxes. We're supposed to be at about 58%. That's our benchmark at 7 months. And everything else is pretty much right in line. We have a line item that's other income, and that's transfers in from other funds, and all those happen towards the end of the year. Our expenditure summary for the general fund. Everybody's doing a really good job there. The library was a little bit high. That was because Mr. McCoy retired, and we had to pay him all of his accrued vacation because he says in 40 years he never took a vacation. He did take some, but not much. So, our taxation looks a little high, but we pay that quarterly, so that always kind of runs a little out of whack, but it'll be right in line. Our other funds are doing really well. The water and sewer fund looks like the income is a little bit low, but I think that's because we had some, rationing and conservation at the beginning of the year, and also we get a big pickup as we get into the warmer months when we all use a lot more water. Our expenses are proportionally low in that fund, so it's looking really healthy at the moment. The Aquatic Center obviously doesn't really have any revenue because they just opened, so they're going to be picking up, but they're doing a really good job of holding their expenses at the time too. Civic Center, their income is really good. Their expenses look a little bit high, but that's because we had some items at the beginning of the year that are actually going to be expensed back into last year, and we were waiting for Ms. McElwee to get finished with her audit stuff so that we could move those items out.
How far along is she on that?
She's doing really good. In fact, I met with her this afternoon. We spent about an hour and a half together talking about the last final little things, and her goal is to have a final report for you in 2 weeks. So we're wrapping up the last little details. So it looks like everybody's really on track and things are going really well. Any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Our savings is really deriving, if you turn the page and you go to the Citizens Collection Fund, which, if you recall, was hemorrhaging. And I didn't bring that up under updates as well. We did open the collection station free to residents with a current utility bill. If they can prove that they have an active account where they pay trash service, it will be free to residents. We did charge some people on Saturday, so we are working on refunds. We had a couple of folks show up today. Most of our savings comes from just that, the negotiated contract and the rates that we're able to save in the sanitation fund that's going to be able to offset that collection center and some of the other deficits in the other departments.
Okay, I don't have a copy of what you were looking at. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't either.
Wait, Amanda.
No, that was Hotel Motel.
Yeah. No, all of it.
I don't think anybody got copies of it. Did y'all get copies then?
There should be set on right in front of you at your desk.
No.
No, it's just
Where'd you send them, Amanda? Well, how about you hand it back to them?
We got it. We stole theirs.
You took it from somebody over there.
Took it from Eric. And just to give you an update, also, we did complete the interviews for the librarian. I believe we're going to be down to 2 finalists, and we will be making a final selection this week and extending an offer, and hopefully one of them accepts. The Aquatic Center, the previous Aquatic Center director has been replaced and will be classified as a Parks and Recreation director that can handle all of the parks. We've been accepting applications, have received a good number. I think what I'm looking for in the Park and Recreation in the beginning is somebody who can help us turn it around. Right now, all of our parks are running at a deficit, and I need somebody with good strategic planning experience, more so than park experience in the beginning. Utility superintendent and a couple of other positions are still vacant, and we're moving to fill those. Some of the savings that you see are just that, salary savings, where staff has been very efficient and moved positions here and there to still get the job done, not being able to hire immediately. It's funny how they don't go over budget when they manage their own checkbook.
So that's it, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, that brings us to item number 13. It's our citizen comments. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address if you would like, and whatever your topic is. The floor is now open for citizen comments. You know, take yours, Mr. Denton.
So you want to be first? Good evening. Bill Denton, General Manager with Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep at 2006 West Wheeler. I just wanted to pass this on. I got to thinking about it. We had an alarm call yesterday at the dealership during the middle of the day, and I had to come out and meet the officers out there. And it got me to thinking, typically, I know that you get to hear the bad things, and you get to hear the bad things, but over the last couple of weeks, I've come in contact with several of the officers executing their duties. Yesterday was Officer Harville, Baker, and Kent. And then last week at the end of this hallway down here, a very agitated gentleman about some code enforcement with a light. And Officer Robert Brake was the officer that handled that. And then a third situation down the street here, Sergeant Anders was handling that. And I just wanted to tell you from being outside and looking in how professional that all these officers were, how well they represented the city of Aransas Pass, especially the situation that occurred at the end of the hallway down here. This gentleman was highly agitated, and I learned more about him and his situation than I cared to. However, Officer Brake, his tone of voice never changed. His demeanor never changed. And ultimately, when it was all said and done, they were laughing about what he came in for, shook hands, and he walked out the door happy. So typically you hear bad things. Officers did this, officers did that. I want to tell you that of those 5 officers, 4 officers and 1 supervisor that I've encountered over the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, that they all have represented the city very well and done an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Is there anybody else who would like to say anything? No? Well, if not, then I'll close the citizen comments. That brings us to item number 14, where we'll recess the open meeting and return to executive session pursuant of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Item A, Section 551.071, consultation with the attorney, legal matters. Our previously submitted bid proposals for the refuse collection and Republic Services modified contract. Item B will be Section 551.071, consultation with the city attorney on legal matters with Gulf Marine Fabricators water bill. The time is 8:09.
Neat. All right, I'm out here.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Bill, what was the deal with Anders? So I'm going to put it in their file. What was that deal? Oh, yeah, he's straight up. I appreciate that, man.
I mean, I did. I came out yesterday and they were all.
I told Sylvia, I said, here comes an advertiser. Down the street. Right there, my address. I was going to start counting, but
No,
she didn't give me enough
just-
opportunity.
No,
No,
but
that
I
was
did.
great,
I rolled
man. I
up.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it was funny. I got caught in the sandwich. And then she goes, glass break. No, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Hey. You know what it's going to look like when all the city is driving the Chrysler Dodge Jeep? Can't get no better advertising. So $10 you were saying?
Yeah, and then she said, glass break, it's a showroom. So it wasn't 3 minutes. I can't remember what the lady's name was. She was very nice. She turned the drive.
Rika.
Yes. She was there. They're there.
They get back.
So I said, what are they going to do? She said, they're going to make that tree. They'll probably do, the key holder. There's a police car in the parking lot pointed into the dealership. There's one here. And they've already cleared it. But it was like, I pulled up and was like, holy crap. They were super, they made sure, they were like, you want us to go back in with you? I'm like, no, if you guys have cleared it, I'm good with it. And what it turned out was, is I had a cleaning team power wash the windows, get all the paint off and the bricks, and freshen up the front door. And